I would now like to introduce Mr. Sovit Manjani. He is a chartered market technician having vast experience in financial markets. He is a co-founder of Dravya Niti Consulting LLP, Algo Convention. He has designed and developed various profitable trend-following algorithmic trading systems and adaptive trading models based on technical indicators for stocks, indices, and single stock futures. He is a trader and investor and has been consistently profitable since 2017 in his personal account. He has specialized in position sizing techniques, risk and money management. His expertise and focus are in building trading and investment models on various asset classes, including Indian equities, currencies, derivatives, commodities, and NYSE equities. He also conducts systematic trading workshops and is passionate to promote disciplined trading and objective technical analysis.
Hello everyone. So next session is by Mr. Sovit Manjani. I happen to know Sovit. I met him in one of the events. He has been a hardcore practitioner. Let me tell you, his CMT he has been conducting classes and all, but he has got that depth in the subject of technical analysis. He would know a lot of theories. I remember him telling me a lot of in detail about Elliott wave analysis and how he used to practice. So there are different subjects that he knows in detail, and he has been trading markets since many years. And there are a lot of analysts who will talk about markets and about chart analysis and all. But when it is about Sovit, he would tell you about practical aspects of trading all the time. You can just go through his timeline on social media or wherever he is posting. You will always find the practical things about trading, and that is about hardcore traders who are also chart practitioners. So welcome Sovit, thank you very much for accepting our invitation for speaking in eDECMA. We are really excited, and it's a great opportunity for all of us.
Thanks a lot, Prashant, for giving me this opportunity, and I would like to thank the whole DECMA team, yourself, AP, Sagar, Vinay. Okay. We have met many times in DECMA physically. I think we have attended almost 2 or 3 DECMAs. I think 2 minimum. Okay. We have always been there, and it has been always a big learning for us. We have learned a lot from the presenters in DECMA, and this time it's my opportunity to present in DECMA for the first time. Okay, so let's start with my presentation.
So before that, Sovit, if you can just brief us about your overall journey so far in stock market. How you started, and what are your overall experiences in?
Okay. So my journey actually is it's like on and off journey. Okay, I first started in around 1994 or something when I was in college. I was in FI BCom, and my father used to do trading into stocks, and mostly he used to do IPOs. And there was a broker in Khar in our area where we live, and he used to go there, and then he asked the broker to give my son an opportunity to work with him. So he accepted it, and at that time the broker was starting a new association, which was called a Suburban Investors Club. So it was a club of around 100 people from Kharjim Khana. It's in Mumbai, Kharjim Khana. So all around 100 members were there in that, and we used to have a gathering, say once in a month or twice in a month, and in a hotel, and we used to these people used to trade with each other, and mostly this trading was done in odd lots. I'm not sure many people know about odd lots. What is odd lots? Like at that time, the lots were of around like 100 shares or 10 shares like that. And if somebody has if the lot is 100, and if somebody has 10 shares, 5 shares, you cannot sell them in the market directly. So you'll have to gather and make 100 lot and then sell it. So we used to take that 10-20 shares from the members, make a 100 lot, and these shares used to trade for a lower price. Say if the price is at 100 rupees, so we can get these shares for 95 rupees. So this 5 rupees was what we were pocketing as profits in the company. Okay. So it started with there. I worked for them almost like around 2.5 years. Then I had a break, and then I started in around 2007. Okay, and in that period when I used to get salary from this company, I remember my salary was around 1200 rupees, and I gathered around 3-4 months salary. And at that time, the IPO of HDFC Bank had come in. I think it was around 97 or 96. Yeah. And I applied for the IPO, and I didn't got the shares in IPO. It was at 40 rupees. I clearly remember that. Okay. And after that, I was very bullish in the stock. So I bought it from the open market at 25 rupees. And I bought almost like I think 200 or 400 shares. I don't really remember the quantity, but it was at least 200 shares, and I sold it within 1 or 2 months for around 50 rupees. And I was very happy that wow, I made 100% profit. And that 25 rupees price in HDFC Bank, I think it was the lowest all-time low of HDFC Bank. Okay, so I think that if I would have kept that shares, 200 shares HDFC Bank, if I would have calculated the dividends and the splits and bonuses, how much it would have become. But that is all history, and it doesn't has any sense. But that is maybe the core why I am more inclined towards long-term trading and long-term holding of stocks. Okay, my nature is that I will buy stocks based on any criteria and then hold it for as long as possible. Okay, that was I think this the trigger point where it all started about. And then I entered again in 1997. Sorry, in 2007, and that was like after 2007. You know that 2008 crash happened, and I lost a lot of money in that crash. But that was all learning, and I was always inclined to know like how I can make money. And then I went into CMT. I did a course in BSc, okay, of technical analysis. Then I wanted to learn more about technical analysis. Then I started to CMT, and then this journey started. And then in 2015, two instances happened which were like life changing for me. First was that I was first went to the Vipassana course where I could like concentrate more on my mind. And the second was that I met this guy called Vivek Gadodia, who is now my partner. And from there, my systematic trading journey started. So till that time, I was doing like discretionary trading, predictive trading, seeing Elliott wave, like all those things I was doing. But from there on, my this systematic trading journey actually started. And then after that, it's history. Like since that time, I've been consistently been profitable for almost like four years now.
Great, great. So it's great to know about how you started and your overall journey. So we'll talk more about this, but let us start with your presentation first.
Sure, Prashant. Okay,
All
we'll
right.
start with the
So over to you.
presentation.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. So, so the strategy name I've given is Drishta long only system. Why Drishta? Because in Vipassana, Drishta is means that to see something as it is. Okay, so we do not add anything to it. We do not remove anything from it. See anything which is as it is. So we are not worried about the future. We are not like we do not have regrets of the past. So what it is right now, at present, that is what is the Drishta. Okay, so that is why I've given the name Drishta to this strategy, and it's a trend following strategy. And about myself, my name is Souvik Manjani, CMT. I'm co-founder at Dravniti Consulting LLP. and also at Algo Convention and IDDI Group. IDDI Group is a recent venture which we have started. Okay. A little bit about Dravniti Consulting. To know more about us, you can go to our website. It's dravniti.com and algoconvention.com. Okay. This IDDI Group is a new venture which I have started. This is a group of around 4 people. We have 4 people, and we all believe in rule-based systematic trading. So we'll start with technical analysis. Basically, technical analysis have a lot of literature is available on YouTube, and there are a lot of sources of getting information on technical analysis. But how I look, I am going to present how I look at technical analysis. So for me, technical analysis is basically divided into 4 parts. First is the price analysis, then volume, open interest. So first, when we talk about price is the ultimate truth of any stock, any commodity, whatever we are trading, any security. Because it is that piece of information on which we will be trading and we will be making money on the price. Say if we are seeing any indicator or any moving average or anything else or any news, we are not going to make money on that news or on that indicator. If the indicator goes up but the price goes down, we will still lose money, right? So the most important and the paramount thing to see is the price, and technical analysis is primarily the analysis of price. Okay, so we'll be talking more about price in detail today. The second is the volume and the open interest. So if the price is moving up or down, but it has to have confirmation. So volume and open interest is other confirmation tools which can be added in any system or any study to get a better signal or trading. If you are trading breakout, then if the breakout is genuine or it's not, that can be identified by understanding volume and open interest. Third part of technical analysis is the volatility. So volatility is divided into 3-4 parts. Like beta can be called as volatility, standard deviation can be used for volatility, and there's another thing called true range. Okay, so we can use any 3 of these, or there may be other tools as well to identify volatilities. Like annualized volatility is also one tool which can be used. So we can say a price is moving up or down, but with volatility, what can we understand about the price is how are the emotions in the market towards the price or towards the security. That can be understood by volatility. So volatility, I associate volatility with emotions. So if the emotions are negative, then the volatility will be high. If the emotions are positive, people are happy, then the volatility will be low generally. Okay. And the fourth component is the sentiment. Sentiment indicators are like VIX is a sentiment indicator. It's the sentiment indicator of fear and greed, right? Otherwise, other than that, there are other indicators like breadth indicators. I think Prashant has done a lot of work on breadth indicators, the 52-week high-low indicator, and number of stocks above the a certain moving average. All these are breadth indicators, and there are many such indicators which will tell you about the sentiment of the market. So it will not tell you about one particular stock, but it will tell you about the general stock market, like how is the sentiment in the economy. So these all are extremely important parts of technical analysis and can be clubbed together to make a very good trading strategy, and we can really be profitable by using all of these together, or at least 2 or 3 of them we can use together and combine to make a strategy. So in today's presentation, we will not be concentrating more on volume, volatility, and sentiment. We'll be concentrating only on the price. Because we have limited time, we'll be talking only about the price. Volatility and other things we can discuss in some other session. Okay, so price, according to my understanding, what is there? That price is composed of 4 components: trend, seasonality, cycles, and noise. There can be other things also, but as per my understanding, whatever I have read in the books and whatever is my understanding, these are the four components of price. So in price, if we see, the most important component is the trend, right? We make money mostly by trends. When the trend is up, we make money. When the trend is down, we generally lose money, right? So for us, most important is trend. But how to identify trend? Because there are other three components also in the price. So if we can remove the other three components from the price, then we will be able to see only trends. And if we can see the trend, then we can take advantage of it and we can make money out of it, right? So now let's see how we can remove seasonality from the trend. Okay, seasonality by its very definition is annual in nature, right? So winter comes every year, summer comes every year, rains come every year, right? So it has an annual nature. And the second characteristic of seasonality is that it is cyclical. So it will come every year. Winter will come every year, summer will come every year. So these are two characters of seasonality. So if we want to remove seasonality, how can we remove seasonality from the price? So to take advantage of any cyclical activity, we need to take a period which is half of its length. Okay, or less than half. Okay, so if we take a period which is, or the parameter which is half or less than half of that, then we can take advantage of this seasonality. But here we want to remove seasonality, right? We do not want to take advantage of seasonality, we want to remove seasonality. So in time series, the time series rises for about half the time and then falls back in the balance half. So if you see, the price will go up for some time and then again fall back. Okay, so it will take approximately 50% of the time to go up and then again 50% to come back to then it will come at the same level. So if you wish to remove seasonality, we use the length which is equal to the cycle length. So if we are using a, say suppose for example we want to take advantage of we want to remove seasonality, right? So if we take 52-week period or 1 year period, then we can remove the yearly seasonality effect. So in this case, we want to actually remove the 1 year seasonality, as all companies and say all the companies, if we know in the stock markets present their balance sheets annually, right? We get our salaries and bonuses once in a year. All companies or many companies like Apple, they announce their products annually once. Like Apple announces in September generally. Then Reliance also launches its products in the AGM, which is I think in September only. Okay, so they do all the plannings for their products annually once. Okay, so that is why annual seasonality is an extremely important event. So if we want to take the annual effect, then we take a period which is equal to 1 year. Like 52 weeks will be equal to 1 year. Okay. The second component of the price is the cycle, right? So if you see on this chart, okay, cycles are dominant and clearly visible on a range bound market. If you see here, okay, this is the chart of Bharti Airtel, and from 2008 onwards, if you see from this high of around 500 rupees till 2020, the stock price has remained range bound. It has gone to around 200, 250 levels and then bounced back to 500 levels. It's remained in that level. And in that period, if you see, you can clearly see the cycles here. What I've done is I've taken the 14 period stochastics and on that I have plotted the cycles manually. So generally, if you see, it rises from here and see again rises and see again rises and see again. So if you see, there's a clear cyclical activity we can see on a sideways market. But when the prices are trending, when the prices are making 52-week new highs, at that time you will not be able to see cyclicality. If you see, this was the previous high. Once the stock crossed this high here, okay, there is no seasonality here. Sorry, there's no cycles here. You cannot identify cycles, and the stock keeps on making new 52-week highs, right? So in a trending market, you will not see cycles. When a stock is trending, it means that the cycle of the higher degree is active. generally when we see such a move, then it is the reason, the basic reason is that there is another cycle of a higher degree which is influencing the price, and the price is pulled by that cycle. When prices are sideways, then it remains in a range not more than 130% from the lows. So if you see in this full period, the lows was around 210 to 20, and the high was around 500. So it remained this from 110 to 500. It's almost like 100, 130%. It's not going beyond that. If here from here, if you see, it was 10 rupees here, and it went down to 50 rupees here. So it is more than 130% move, right? If the stock is trending, it will keep multiplying, it will keep trending, right? So this will be using in our system. That's why I've mentioned it here. Now the third component which is left is the noise. Okay. And what is noise? Basically, noise is anything which is not explained by either of these. Any movement which is not being explained by either cyclicality or seasonality, that is noise. Okay. And there are ways to remove noise. The first way to remove noise is a point and figure charts, and on which I think Prashant is the best person to talk about that. He has written a book on point and figure charts. Same as with Renko charts, you can remove noise with using Renko charts. And again, Prashant has written a book on Renko charts as well. The third way how we can remove noise is by going to higher time frames, because noise is highest on lower time frames. If you are seeing a chart of 5 minutes, you will see a lot of noise. Okay, you will not understand where the trend is going. Okay, but if you go to 15 minutes chart, the price will you maybe start to understand what the price is doing. If you go to 1 hour time frame, again you will see that the trend is much more clearer in a 1 hour chart. So as you go to higher time frames, noise reduces. Okay. Another way of reducing noise is the relative strength comparison. Basically, relative strength comparison is what? It is the price of any stock divided by its benchmark. So in our case, the benchmark is Nifty. And if you are talking about, say, a stock like Bharti Airtel or any other stock, okay, if you divide the price of Bharti Airtel with Nifty, we get a relative strength comparison. And basically, Nifty is a sign of noise, because what happens is that when a stock, suppose a stock is bullish, there's some bullish fundamental reason, say this company has announced very good numbers, okay, and the stock should generally move up, but on that particular day Nifty is down, so the market sentiment is down. So for that stock, that short-term downtrend of Nifty, and because all other components of Nifty are going down, that stock also is pulled down. So if it has to move 10% because of this noise of Nifty and other stocks of the general market, this only rises by say 2%. Right. So if we take the relative strength comparison, then it is possible to reduce noise. Our strategy, we'll be using the third, which is the higher time frame charts, to reduce the noise. Okay. Now, what is trend? It can be up, it can be down, it can also be sideways, right? But we have to wait for the evidence of it to show that it is turning. That is very, very important. Like, people just think that if the stock has moved by say 30%, 40%, they will start to think that now it will reverse. There's still not any evidence of that on the price, and the evidence should come on the price, not on the indicator. The indicator RSI can give you a divergence. I do not give any importance to divergence, because it's just that the divergence tells you that the stock has it got tired, but it doesn't mean that the trend has changed. Okay, so always wait for the evidence of turning on the price. Thus, we see that just by using breakouts on higher time frames, we can remove the noise, we can remove seasonality, and also we can remove cycles. Okay, and after this, we can see the grand trend, the long term trend we can see. Okay, we'll see how we go with the strategy. Okay, but before we go to the strategies, I would just want to cover these simple things. And there are many types of strategies. I will not be discussing all those. For me, there are only two types of strategies. One is trend following and another is mean reverting. Okay. Within trend following, there can be another two types of. We can divide them into two parts. One is breakout, and another is retracement strategy. So this strategy which we are seeing today will be a breakout strategy. Okay. And the other type of strategy is the mean reverting strategy, where you can see the price goes up, again it comes down, again it goes up. So it doesn't have any direction. It is sideways. It is in a range. Okay. So we can take advantage of this range bound market. Okay, we can try to short at the top and buy at lows. Again, short at the top and buy at lows. Okay. For that, the basic tools which can be used are the indicators like stochastics, RSI. Okay, any bounded indicators can be used. Generally, unbounded indicators are not so good for mean reverting strategies, but bounded indicators are quite good for that. We can also use moving averages to trade mean reverting strategies. And the other way of trading them is the price action. A lot of people are masters in price action. I'm not a master in price action, so I will not be talking much about price action. Okay. So trend following strategies will be like we will be trying in trend following strategy. What we try to do is that we try to catch the stock as early as possible. Okay. Still, we have to give some way because we will not be able to buy the stock here at these levels. We'll be buying somewhere here. So we'll have to miss this move. We'll have to sacrifice this much move. Okay. And we try to hold this stock for as long as possible till we do not see any evidence of trend turning down. So here, this is the chart of Bajaj Finance, and this was a March 2000 fall, where it was the first sign of trend changing. Although the trend didn't change after that also. That's a different matter. But this is how we try to capture this move. And you can see here when the moving average went, the price went above the 30 period moving average. This is the monthly chart and this is 30-month moving average. The price was around 20 rupees. Okay. And here it was around 2,200. So by using higher time frame like monthly, we can capture these types of trends. And mean reverting strategies are stock like Bharti Airtel. If you see, this is the again same 30 period moving average. Okay, you can see that the price is above the moving average. The moving average is down, and the price comes down to the moving average. Again, it goes far away from the moving average. Again, it comes back to the moving average. Again, it has gone far away from the moving average. It comes back to the moving average. That is why it is called mean reverting, because mean is the moving average. So every now and then it goes far away from the moving average and comes back to the moving average. Okay. So in this type of strategy, our profitability will not be big. If you see, even if you have bought at these 240 levels and exited at around 400 levels, how much percentage move is this? 20-30% move. Right. So you will not get more than, and this is a monthly chart. Okay. So you will not get more than 20-30% move in such a strategy. Again, in this fall also, it goes down from 400 to around 220. You will not be able to short here. You will not be able to buy here. So you will be only be getting some part of this move, which will be again 20-30% move. It won't be a big percentage gain. Okay. In trend following, you can see that how we got from 20 rupees to 2,000 rupees. And I'm not telling you that we will actually buy at 20 and exit at 2,000, but this is the possibility which we can get. So even if we get say 20 to 100, it's not bad, right? Or even if we get from 50 to 100, it's not bad. It's like 100% move. But like that big moves we cannot get in mean reverting strategies. Mean reverting strategies, we will have more number of winning trades, but our profits will be small. And there will be less number of losses, but those losses can be big. In trend following strategies, our win rate will be less. Win rate can be as low as 30%, but the winners are big. When we go right, we make big amount. When we go wrong, we lose less. That is the basic characteristics of trend following strategy. Okay. So now we'll be going to our trading system. Before making any system or strategy, we should be very clear about its objective. If you are trying to make a system and if your objective is not clear, then you will not land up anywhere. It is very, very essential to define an objective before making a strategy. Okay. So here we have kept an objective that the system should beat the benchmark returns, okay, by a substantial margin. It should have a lower risk than the benchmark. Okay, so basically we want lesser risk than the benchmark. If it has the same risk as Nifty or the benchmark, then basically we are not getting any advantage of the strategy. So we want to outperform the Nifty both in case of the drawdown and both in case of the returns. It should make our idle capital work. So we have to make our money work for us. Whatever we have made till now, we have to make that money work. And we do not want to disturb our daily job or whatever profession we are. See, if you are a doctor, you keep practicing your profession. If you are accountant, you keep doing your accounts job. Whatever your profession is right now, we do not want to interfere with the job. Okay, this system is something which can give you additional returns on your capital, idle capital which is left. It should be easy and workable for any layman. So the strategy, I always believe that the strategy should be as simple as possible. Okay. And it should have minimum risk, minimum entry rules, and it should have minimum exit rules. So the lesser the entry rules and exit rules are there, the better the strategy is, because the probability of curve fitting is reduced. Right? What is curve fitting? That we will be talking later, or maybe not in this session. But the strategy is generally more robust. Okay. And then the most important for me is that it should have a zero risk of ruin. The risk of ruin is basically your capital going down to zero, or maybe to 10%. If you have start with 10 lakh rupees, if it goes down to 1 lakh rupees, then you cannot stand up and again make money out of that 1 lakh rupees, right? So at no circumstances it should happen that our 10 lakh rupees goes down to 1 lakh rupee or to 2 lakh rupees. That should not happen. So the first hypothesis about the strategy is that the stock or security whichever we are buying. So this is basically, let me tell you in advance that this is basically a long only strategy in which we will be only buying. We will not be shorting any stock. We'll be buying and selling. We will not short. So we'll never go short in this strategy. And the second important thing is that this strategy is fully based on weekly price. So we will not be going to daily price. We will not be going to hourly price. Nothing. We will just seeing the price on either the closing of Friday, or you can see on if you get the data at around 6 o'clock in the evening, then you will be executing the strategy on the next day morning open. That is the Monday morning. The strategy has been designed in such a way that you have to give only 1 hour maybe in a week, so that you can continue with your profession or whatever professions you have. Okay. So the basic hypothesis is that stock should rise from the bottom. So whatever bottom is made, say a 52-week low, it should move substantially from that lows. Okay. So because a 10-20% bounce can happen from the lows just because of short covering, or it can happen because of some manipulation or some noise, right? But if a stock has moved like 130% from the lows, then it can only be because of some buying interest. We don't know who is interested in this stock, and we do not need to know that who is interested in the stock. But if a stock rises from the lows by 100% or more than 100%, then it signifies that some sort of buying is happening. Stock cannot move higher 100% just for no reason, right? So for this, what we do is that we calculate the 52-week low. 52 week is almost 1 year, right? So we calculate the 52 week lows, and we calculate the 130% from that low. Okay. So the security should rise at least 130% from its 52 week lows. Okay. So I'll show you that on chart. This is our first condition. So this is a chart of Adani Green Energy, and this is 2019-20 chart. If you see here, this line, this purple line is the 52 week low. So if you see, this was a 52 week low, okay, then it rose higher because 52 weeks had added by this. So the low increased to here, it increased to here, and then it raised to this. Okay. So on this candle, one candle, on this candle our actual signal came in, but on this candle we have to see the price of the 52 low was 30.15. If you can see here, the 52 week low is 30.15. Okay, and 130% if you calculate from that, the price comes to 69.35, rounded off to 5 paise, which is 1 tick. Okay, so the price comes to 69.35. So the price should at least be 69.35 in this case to give us a buy signal. This is our first condition. So if you see, this line is the 130% from this low line. Okay, so here on this candle, the price closed. The black the black bar is actually the bullish bar. Okay, and the gray bar is the bearish bar. Okay, so this black bar actually it closed at 78.75. So it is higher than 69.35, and on this bar our condition is fulfilled, and we are buying on the next bar open. So our buy will be on next bar open, which is around 79.45. The next bar open at 79.45. That is the Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it may be. On that day we'll buy. This is the first condition. It's not the end of the strategy as of now. Then we have another hypothesis. Okay, we need to buy only when the stock is near to its 52 week high, which is the yearly high. The security should be at the line of least resistance. The name line of least resistance I think was given by Jesse Livermore. Okay, so whenever a stock is near to its 52 week highs, all the investors or traders in the last 1 year are in profit. All those who are holding that stock or security are in profit. So there's no reason for them to panic, or the probability of panic or selling a stock in a hurry will be very, very low. Why will anybody sell a stock if he's in profit, right? So this actually works very well, and we have tried to test this thing. Okay, so for this we calculate the highest high of last 52 weeks, and the second condition for this is that the security has to be within 10% range from its 52 week high. So whatever is the 52 week high, it should be either at the 52 week high, or it should be very close to its 52 week high, which is not less than 10%. Okay, so if the stock is down by 11% on weekly basis, then we are not interested in that stock. So if the weekly close should be at least 10% in the range of 52 week high. So here we show it on the chart. The same Adani Green stock. Here if you see, we have plotted two lines. The red line is the 10% from the 52 week low, and the green line is the green line is the 52 week high, and the red line is the 10% low from the 52 week high. So the 52 week high on this bar was 79.35. Okay, and 10% low from that was 71.41. Okay, so this red line is at 71.41, and on this candle the price closed above 71.41 and also above the 69.35. Both the conditions were fulfilled. It is above 69.35 and it is above 71.41. So this candle fulfilled our condition, both the conditions, and we can go buy on the next candle open. Okay. So this is a quote by Justin Livermore. Successful traders always follow the line of least resistance. Follow the trend is your friend. Actually, this idea I got it from the book by Mark Minervini. So at the end of the presentation, I'll be talking about that book a little bit. Now, one more important condition is that the stock should be liquid. We are not interested into any stock which has low liquidity or in which stock we can get stuck, because we should be thinking from the point of view that whenever it comes in, we should not get stuck, and we want to sell the stock, and we are not getting liquidity. So then whatever our system shows us will not be realistic. So the system will show that we have sold at 100, but in reality we will not be able to sell at 100. We'll be only be able to sell at maybe 90 rupees or 80 rupees. So the stock it should be liquid. And how we should measure liquidity? Okay. So what we do is that we calculate the value of the stock each week. So to calculate value, we multiply the price, the weekly closing price, with the volume. Yeah. So whatever volume has happened in that week, we multiply the price with the volume, and we take a 26-week moving average. We take a simple moving average of 26 weeks of this value, right? And then the condition is that we rank all the stocks which are there in NSE based on this value. So the highest value will have the rank of 1. The lowest will have the highest rank. Okay. So what this will make sure is that we are entering into top 500 liquid stocks. We are not going into that small cap or like extreme small cap or mid caps, okay, which are not very liquid. And because of that, we are taking a 26 week, which is almost 6 months. So it can happen that one stock which is a small cap and which is not very liquid actually, but for some time, say for 1 month or 2 months, it can have a very high volume. So it can come into this range. But that is why we are using 6 months period, right? And we take the top 500 stocks as our universe each week. So this is how we get our universe. And for retail people who cannot follow this, okay, if you cannot follow this, then the next substitute is that you go with the CNX 500 universe. I have not gone with the CNX 500 universe because the problem with CNX 500 universe is that it keeps changing, right? So now the CNX 500 universe will have a different list of stocks. Say 5 years back it will be a different list of stocks, and 10 years back it will be again different list of stocks. So we do not have the exact universe, okay, to backtest. So if I have to backtest, I have to have a rule which can be backtested on a bigger period. With using CNX 500, I will be having survivorship bias. So I want to remove survivorship bias. That is why I have used this rule. Okay, but for your case, you can trade it on CNX 500 because it won't be a big change in the strategy. Because we want to know how the backtest would have shown. That is why we are using this rule. The basic idea is that the stock should be liquid. Okay, so even if the stock comes into the system, suppose, and if the stock is in a 5% circuit band, or if it is a BE criteria, then I generally don't trade that stock. If it comes in the signal, I just ignore that stock because I do not want to enter any stock in which I will not get the exit. As simple as that. Okay, if it's like the story of Abhimanyu, you enter into the Chakravyuh, but if you do not know how to exit the Chakravyuh, then ultimate result is that you'll die. There's no other option. Okay, so I do not want to die. That is why I'll not into any stock which is illiquid. It's okay that I'll make less money. That's fine. Then we come to the exit hypothesis. So 10 weeks are equal to around 2.5 months, right? Almost like 3 months. Okay. So it is a known value, like 50-day moving average has been used for many years. Okay, so this is similar to 50-day moving average because we have generally 5 trading days in a week. So it's a 10-week moving average, and we use an exponential moving average. Okay, so when a stock starts to trade below its 10-week moving average, then the stock has lost its trend or it has lost its momentum. So either it has lost its trend or it has lost its momentum. So maybe it will go into sideways market, right? And we are not interested into any stock which goes sideways because it will be blocking our capital. So both the situations are not in our favor. So we get out if the stock goes below the 10-week moving average. Okay. So the simple rule is that we calculate a 10-week exponential moving average, and the exit condition is that exit when the slope of this 10-week moving average turns down. So the slope can be easily calculated by taking the difference between today's current week's moving average and the previous week's moving average. If the current week moving average is above the previous week moving average, then the slope is up. If that current week moving average is less than the previous week's moving average, then the slope is down. That's a simple rule. Okay, and again here this is a very important point. To implement this rule, also make sure that while entering a trade, this 10-week simple moving exponential moving average slope should be up. So this will be the condition number 3, and this condition we have to keep because not for any other reason, but because our exit condition is that the slope is turning down. Because suppose if you do not put this condition, this third condition for the buy signal, then what will happen is that suppose it is possible that a stock is fulfilling the both the condition, that it is near to the 52-week high and it is 130% up from the lows, but still still the moving average is turned down, then your exit will not come at all. So this is a flaw if you do that, because it is possible that although the stock is near to this 52-week high, it's only down 10% from the 52-week high, but it can still be below the 10-week low. So if it happens, then you do not have the exit strategy at all for that stock. That is why we should trade only that stock. We should buy only that stock which is having a slope which is moving higher. Okay. So in this chart we can see this is again the same Adani Green chart, and from here if you see the 52-week turn, 50-week slow, 10-week slope has turned up. Okay, and all the other two conditions fulfilled here on this candle, and the buy was eventually taken at 79.45. Okay, and sell, that is the exit strategy. That sell will be generated when it goes and the 10-week moving average turns red. So I've put the color of moving average. So if the slope is up, then the color will be green. If the slope is down, then the color will be red. So here you can see that the color has turned down. So on this candle, the slope turned down, and our exit comes on this candle open. So it will come at around this level, which is 156.6. So we bought it around 80 rupees. We exited around 156 rupees. Right. And this will be the C. So when we are putting all these together, our price went above the 10% from the 52-week high, or our price also went above the 130% from the lows, and the moving average is also turned up. The 10-week moving average is also up, which is in green. So our signal came here, and our exit came at this level of when the signal turned down, when the moving average turned down. On this candle, the moving average turned down, and this is a black candle. This is actually a bearish candle, which is in color gray. Okay, and on this level, we got an exit. We'll see some more examples, but before that, we'll also talk about position sizing in this strategy. Now we'll come to the position sizing hypothesis. In any 10 following system, with a different stop loss, the win percentage is less than 50%. Generally, in 10 point system, you get less than 50% win rate, maybe around max I have seen is like 45%, but it can be in the range of 30% to 45% generally. But the average size of winners is substantially bigger than the average size of losers. So the winners are much bigger than the losing trades. Hence, the size of losers are not a concern. So, since the losers are small and but they are quite frequent, okay. So their size is not a concern for a 10-point system. What can increase the risk of win is a series of losses. The problem with 10 following systems is that since the win rate is as low as 30-35%, there can be an extremely high series of losses, a big series of losses, which can be as high as 45 to 50 trades in a row. And I've seen this in many of my systems, that these series of losses can also go on 45-50 also. So don't be surprised if you get such a series in any 10 following system. That doesn't mean that the system is flawed. Okay, this happens with all 10 following systems. Sooner or later, it will happen with all 10 following systems. And this series of losses beyond our control. We cannot do anything about it. The only thing what we can do is that we can reduce our size in these losses. So to keep the maximum drawdown under check, we should keep our size per trade as small as possible. So if our size per trade is small, then it will not hurt. Even if there are 10 or say 40 consecutive losses and our loss per trade is only 2%, okay, it will be very minuscule and it will not affect us too much. Hence, we keep our size per trade as 2% of our capital. So this is a fixed 2%. Whatever is our capital, say it's 10 lakh, then we take only 20,000 rupees in one trade. Yeah. So this can be very boring, because like 20,000 rupees, if you are putting in one stock, even if it becomes a big winner and you get 100% return in that stock, then also you get only 20,000 rupees profits. That is like only 2% of your capital. So it can be extremely bowling. But the advantage is that you stay with the wicket. You do not get bowled out. You do not have it will not be that you don't have the chips to play. You will be on the wicket to play the next ball, and that is most important. If you lose all your chips, you will never be able to play back, right? So that has to be the thought process of taking any 10 following system, that because of consecutive losses, you should not blow up your capital, and your risk of ruin should always be zero. Other parameters on the system what we have taken is that we have taken the initial capital with 10 lakh rupees. The backtest period we have done is from April 2001 to March 2020, which is a 19-year period. Slippages and commission we have taken on each side by 0.3%. So each side, like when we are buying and when we are exiting, each side we are putting a brokerage and slippage for 0.3%. Like Zerodha will not charge any brokerage, but that but then there will be some other charges like SCT will be there, and you may also have some slippage. Okay, and we are taking the trade on the next day morning open, so any sort of gap up is also considered in the strategy by itself. Maximum open positions will be 50. So even if all the trades are getting fulfilled, since we are giving 2% of capital in each trade, maximum open positions can only be 50. The returns are adjusted for bonus, stock splits, and special dividends. We have adjusted the data for bonuses, for splits, and for special dividends. So that is not to be worried about. Okay, regular dividends are not accounted for. So any income from the dividends is another income. It's not taken into account in this system, in the backtest. The returns are compounded, that is, they are reinvested. There has been no withdrawals. So in the last 19 years, we have done no withdrawals, and all the profits are accumulated into the system, into the strategy. In case of delisting of a stock, exit has taken or at the closing price of the delisting day. So whatever day the delisting, because there can be stocks which get delisted. So we have to account those shares also, because then it will keep blocking our capital. In the backtest, we have to take care of that. So we have taken care of that. And on the day they have got delisted, we have removed them from the list, and we have taken the exit price as the last day of delisting price. Generally, you get that price if you submit the shares. The company will give you that price. Okay. So the final statistics of this strategy of 19-year period, we started with a 10 lakh equity, and the equity, the ending equity is 11 crores 72 lakhs. But remember, this is 19 years. Very few people will be actually be able to run this strategy for 19 years. Okay, the net profit is 11 crores 62 lakhs. Forget about the net profit percentage; it's too high to be talked about. Okay, exposure in this strategy is only 59%. So a lot of time our our full quota of 50 trades will not be fulfilling. So our capital may be remaining idle. Okay, so this capital you can put into liquid Bs, because our signals are coming once a week. So we can keep and park this capital into your liquid Bs, but we have not accounted for that in this backtest. Okay, that will be your additional income. We have not accounted for that. If we add that, then your returns increase another. So the annual return here is like for 28.5%. With that income, it will go to around 32%, 31% or something. Okay, but we have not accounted for that because we do not want to show extremely rosy picture. Okay, and then the total transaction cost, the brokerage which we have taken and the slippage what we have taken, the total transaction cost comes to 1 crore 8 lakh rupees. So this looks very high, but since you'll be trading for 19 years and there are around 2,287 trades, this can be a substantial amount. And especially if you remember, if you are trading in 2001, at that time the brokerage was quite high. Okay, so this is, I think, this is appropriate what brokerage we have taken in. Okay, winners are around 46% in this strategy and losers are around 54%. So only for 46% of the trades are winners, and rest of the 54% trades are losers. On an average, in each profitable trade, we make around 41% return, and on an average, we lose around 11% on a losing trade. Average bars, these bars are basically weekly bars. So average bars hold for the winners is around 19 bars, and average bars for the losers are around 6.5. So we exit early. If you see, this is almost 3 times than this. So in any trend following strategy, this should be at least 2. Here it is 3. And if you see the average profit 41 and average loss 11, it's almost like 1:4 ratio. Okay. The max consecutive losses, the max consecutive profits are 22 and the max consecutive losses are 18. But do not rely on this number. In future, it can also show you numbers like 30, 40 also. I've seen it in other systems. So don't be surprised if it goes down to 30 to 40 also. The maximum drawdown in this strategy is 27%. Okay. The coverage factor is 2.67 and the CAR to max drawdown is 1.05. So CAR to max drawdown is not very high because it's a long-term trend following system and it has been tested on 19 years. If I test it only from 2009 to 2020, it will be a CAR to max drawdown of say 2 or maybe 3 also. But that is not what I wanted to show. This also includes the data of 2008 fall. Okay, and this 27% drawdown was in 2008. Okay. Profit factor is 2.06. Any number above 2 is good for profit factor. Payoff ratio is 2.42, which is also decent enough. Sharp ratio is 0.48. So Sharp ratios for any trend follow strategies are generally low. Okay. But still, if we compare with the Nifty or CNX 500, it is higher than that. Average profit or loss in per trade is around 13%. So each trade we take, so we took around 2,200 trades. So each trade we took, the average profit we make is around 13%. and average bars hold is around 12 weeks. So basically, we are on an average we hold for around 3 months. This is the equity curve of the strategy from 2001 April till 2000 March 20. In the recent fall, it lost money from 2018. The peak was somewhere in 2018, and that has not been reached till March 2020. This is underwater curve, which is the maximum drawdown what we have seen. You can see the maximum drawdown was once hit at around in 2004. Then it hit a little lower than that in 2008. It hit maximum drawdown, and recently again it has hit closer to the maximum drawdown, which is around 27%. This is the profit table of the strategy. So you can see there are around 5 years which are losing. 2001, 2008, 2011, 2015, and 2018 and 2019. 2020 I have not marked red because it is only 3 months which we have considered here. The next 9 months we'll see the report separately. Okay. And you can see the maximum winning years were around 141%. It was 2003. That 2007 was around 151%. So these are exceptional years. Okay, they do not happen very often, but once they happen, trend following is like that. Once they happen, they make big money. This is the profit distribution of trades. You can see here that most of the trades are concentrated in this range. The losing trades are within 5% to 25%. So generally the loser is in this range. That is why our average loser is around 11%. Okay, and these are our winners. So if we take around, if we take this portion, then these losers will nullify these profitable trades. And what ultimately will go into our pocket is these fat tails. These are called the fat tails, and this is the bell curve distribution. Okay, so in our objective we have defined that the strategy should outperform the benchmark. So here we have taken the benchmark as CNX 500 because Nifty cannot be compared because Nifty is mostly a group of 50 stocks only, and since we are also taking 500 stocks in our universe, so I've compared it with the CNX 500, and you can also run this strategy only on CNX 500. So CNX 500 is a better measure to compare. So in the 19 year period, CNX 500 has gone from 100 rupees to 904. So it's a 900% return, absolute return. And the strategy, this strategy has gone from 100 to 11,725. So you can see the vast difference. If you see the returns of CNX 500 of 19 years has been 12.29%, and the strategy has 28.5% return. This is substantially higher, more than twice of the return of CNX 500. So on that front, we are able to beat the benchmark. When we see the drawdowns, this is the maximum drawdown of CNX 500, and this is the maximum drawdown of the strategy. CNX 500 has the maximum drawdown in 2008, which was around 63%. Okay, but in the star we had a maximum drawdown of 27.6%. So on this front also, the maximum drawdown is less than half of CNX 500. Now let's see some other trades. Like till now we have just understood the strategy. We'll have more examples to see. This is the biggest winner. This will not happen very often, but this is the biggest winner. The buy signal came at around 93 rupees, where all the three conditions were getting fulfilled here. Okay, and the sell signal came here at around 835 rupees. After a few days, there was few weeks, there was again a signal here, and that was a losing trade. But in this trade, if you see, it is like less than 10% loss. So when we make big money. When we lose, we lose less. That's the basic idea of trend following. This is another big winner, HEG, 551% profit. the buy signal came at 406 rupees where all the three conditions were fulfilled, and the sell signal came at around 2600. Okay. Again, there was another buy signal at 3300, and this also ended in a losing trade of around it ended at 2800. So this was again around 15% losing trade, but the winner was bigger than the loser. This is India Bull Ventures 458% return. This chart is very interesting actually. That is why I plotted it fully from 2003 to 2020. If you see, this was a big winner, 5 rupees to around 5.5 rupees to 29 rupees. This was a big winner. But if you see here, in this downtrend from 29 or more, whatever is the price, around 30, 35 rupees, it went down to almost like maybe 5 rupees or something. Okay, there was no trade. Again, there was a trade here, which was, I think, a loser. It came at around 25 rupees and exited around 23 rupees. This was a small 10% loser. But in this fall, if you see, there's no trade. So we are away from any stock which is falling consistently. We do not take any trades in such a stock. Again here, the buy came at around 11 rupees, and this in the full uptrend, there were multiple trades and we made money in most of the trades. Okay, here we will be losing because there were some multiple signals which may come around because of the moving average slope turning up and down again and again. But in this fall, if you see, there is no trade at all. So the system keeps you away from a downtrending market. You do not get generally any trades in a downtrending market, or you may get one or two trades in a downtrending market. And then we should talk also about the big losers. So this was a big loser, a 54% loser. The buy signal came on this candle. The entry was taken on this candle open, and on the next day or the next week, it came down drastically, and it was almost a 15% loser. Buy was at around 360 rupees, and the exit was around 166 rupees. But if you see, it protect you from this full bigger loss. Stock went down to 9 rupees from 166 rupees. So, but we got exited here. We did not hold the stock for this full fall. Okay. Again, another example of a loser. Okay. Before that, this was a losing trade actually. Okay, the buy signal came here. It's showing here because of your entry would have come on the open. The conditions would have been fulfilled here. Okay, and the buy signal is showing here. You would have entered somewhere here at around 749 rupees. Exit came on the next bar only at around 248 rupees, and this was a big loser of around 54%. But before that, we had a decent enough winner in that same stock. But after that, if you see, the stock went down to almost, I think it went down to almost 10 rupees or something. But we didn't had any position in that trade. So it actually protected us and not being in that stock for the loss. Another example of a big loser, 44% Uptown. Okay, Western Corporation, another big loser. Okay, and this is a recent example of 2020, March 2020 fall. The buy signal came at 222. Exit came at around 146. Which was a 34% loser, 35% loser. But if you see, it protected us from this fall up to 64 rupees. So from 146, we were protected, and we did not waited for this recovery. Another recent loser, Navin Fluorine, the buy came at around 146. It came at around, this is 1,466. The exit came around 977. So the loss is around 34%. Although Navin Fluorine recovered fast after that. But the point is that we have to be protected when the fall comes in. We do not know whether there will be a rise after that fall or not. Some of the recent trades are again Adani Green. This was the trade which we saw from around 80 rupees to 156 rupees. Then again another trade came in at around 229 rupees in May 2020, and the exit came at around 945. This was again a big winner. These are the list of trades which are open as of now. So this can be seen in the presentation. I won't be going on to all these trades. Some big winners, and there are some losers as well. There are 10% loser here. And the out of statistics of this strategy of last 11 months, like we practiced it till March 2020. So this is the because anybody will ask me that what happened in the last say 10-12 months after the backtest. So this is the result of last 11 months. Again, we start with 10 lakh rupees. The ending capital as of first. This is up to 1st March. Okay, so the ending capital is around 17 lakh rupees. The net profit is 7 lakh on 10 lakh rupees. The net profit comes to 70%. Exposure is 60%, which is similar to our backtest. Annualized return, if you convert this to annualized, because this is 11 months. Okay, if you convert it to 12 months, then it comes to around 80%. Total transaction cost has been taken is 18,000 rupees. Total trades are 109. Winners in this since this is a small piece of sample, there are more number of winners, and since it has been luck that the price has been moving up in these last 11 months. Okay, so the win percentage is around 74%, but 72%. But don't expect this percentage. It will come back to its mean sooner or later. It will come back to 46%, which is the mean of the strategy. Losers are around 27%. Average profit again is close to a backtest. And the backtest we have seen around 41%. Here it is 43%. Average loss is around 9.7%. In the backtest was around 11%. So it is quite close to the backtest. Number of bars held is 15. In the backtest was around 19, which is again close to the backtest. And the number of bars of losers are around 7, which was again around 6.6 in the backtest. Here you can see the maximum winners are 44, which is the highest in this full backtest. We had the highest of 22, but this SPL has been exceptionally good, and it has got 44 consecutive winners, and the consecutive losers are only 3. Don't expect this to be like this. Okay, expect it to be at least 20 in future, and it can also go to 30, 40. So the results are quite close to our backtest. That is very, very important. So now we have understood the system and we have seen some examples, but the most important part is the psychology part to run any system. And according to my understanding, the one requirement which is an absolute necessity for making money by trading or investing is to learn the equanimous in the ups and downs of our equity curve. So whatever is our equity curve, we will have winning streaks, we will have losing streaks, but we have to wear equanimous. We should not dance when we are in profits, and we should not be sad when we are in losses, because these are bound to come. Like in life, you will have happiness and sadness. Same way that will happen in your equity curve as well. So if you get too excited about your winners, okay, and too anxious about your losers, then there's some problem. Then maybe equity trading is not for you. You have to be conservative and think that anything can happen in the future. So what are the minimum requirements of this strategy is that the minimum required will be 5 lakh rupees, because say if you are not even able to take 10,000 rupees in one trade, then you will miss a lot of trades. Like a stock like MRF, you will not be able to take even with 5 lakh rupees, because it's around 1 lakh rupees. So you won't be able to take that trade. So any stock like Dixon is around 20,000 rupees now. So you won't be able to take such stocks. That is why the minimum requirement is 5 lakh rupees. If you trade with less than that, then you may not get the returns which are similar to the backtest. You should need a rule-based mindset. There is no substitute for that. If you think that you are better than the system, then there will be a problem. Okay. Systems are always better than us. Discipline is extremely important. If your system has given you a bias signal, you have to follow it. If you do not follow it, then it's as good as not having a system. I would say it is worse than having a system, because then you are expecting something which is similar to the system results, but in reality you will not get those results. Okay. And I would suggest that each one who is listening to this should make his own strategy. Do not copy people's strategies. You can take ideas from them, okay, but make your own strategies, strategy, which is very very important, because you will not have the faith in anybody else's strategy. It's not possible. Say, I cannot run a strategy of my partner. Vivek has made a strategy, and I put money onto that. I was not able to run that strategy. I lost money in that strategy. So it has to be in sync with your mindset. Your strategy should be in sync with your mindset. So you can take idea from us. You can take motivation from us, but make your own strategy. Then only you'll have faith. You'll stay. Like, no matter how good or bad your son is, you will still be there with him, right? In his bad times and good times, right? The same way is with the strategy also. So make your own strategy, treat it as your son and daughter, and be with them for in their bad times and good times. If you are running a strategy which is made by somebody else, then you may not be able to run it in the bad times. Say if there's a drawdown, say if the drawdown maximum drawdown is say 30%, and the strategy is at a 20% drawdown, you will think that I don't know what this guy has coded. It should not be that say maximum drawdown has come, agreed, but still it should not have gone 20% down, because it's an algo, right? So that doesn't happen. You will see in strategies, I have seen strategies break even their maximum drawdown also. So I will not be surprised if this strategy goes down below 27% also in future. I will not be surprised if it goes down to 40% also. But at that time, will you be able to run this strategy? Will you be able to take the next trade? Seriously not. But I will be able to take the next trade because I have coded it. I have the faith in the strategy, because it goes with my mindset. So try to make your own strategy. Okay. And that is important, that you have to have faith in the strategy. And then the same thing, being equanimous in strategies, peaks and drawdowns. So till you do not adjust yourself with the strategies, peaks and drawdown, you will not be able to run the strategy. It looks very easy that algo trading is easy. You can make money. Like, it looks like it's printing money, but it's not that easy. There will be emotions when there will be a drawdown. So there will be emotions. You will be tempted to stop the strategy. You will be tempted to reduce the size in your strategy. Okay, but the time you flicker with the strategy, that is the time when you will lose all the edge of the strategy. This has been like motivating me for all the strategies which I make. I have been a great follower of Ed Sikota. He has 6 essentials, and which are very very important for trend following system, and he is definitely a trend follower. The biggest rule is that ride your winners. So if you have a winning trade, don't leave it with a small profit. Make it and count it. You make it as big as possible. Be with the trend as long as it doesn't show an evidence that it is turning. Like, many people will buy a stock. They have got a very very good skill set to buy stock at lower. They will buy the stock, but they will not be able to ride that. As soon as they get a 20% profit, they will exit. But if you understand that if you are exiting at a 20% profit, you will never make money more than 20%. Your winners will never go above 20%. You have kept a target of 20%. So how will you get big winners? And your losers will still be there. Losers are not going away. And if your average loss is 10% also, and your win rate is less than 50%, you will not be able to make money. So you have to cut your losses for sure, but you have to also ride your winners. Let them go as far as it goes. I generally do not like to put targets in any trend following strategy. because targets reduce the profit potentials, and I do not want to restrict my profits. I do not want to restrict my profit potential. And then cut your losses, extremely important. If you do not cut your losses, like Atsumoto has a saying, then if you cannot take a small loss, then sooner or later you will take mother of all losses. Okay, so cut your losses as soon as possible, no matter what. Manage risk. Okay, so by managing risk, we have done that in our strategy by taking only 2% of our overall capital in one trade. So that is how we are managing our risk. And file the news. Basically, do not give any importance to the news. I do not see any news channel. Only thing I keep check is the budget days and the RBI policy days. That is where I see the news. Other than that, I do not see any news, because anything out of our system is noise for us. So if there's a news that the stock has given a bad result and your stop loss is not hit on the system, it's noise for your system. In fact, a signal of one system is a noise for another system. So if you have two systems, both are long only system, one system has given a exit in that stock and another system has not given an exit in that stock, it's noise for that system. Then you should not exit your trade based on, if you're taking trade on that system in which the stop loss has not come in, then you should not exit the stock. Even it has happened and we are running multiple systems. One system has given a long in one trade, one stock, and another system has given a short in that stock. Right? So we still run that system, because trade, a signal of this system is a noise for this system, and a trade for this system is a noise for this system. Understand that? This full strategy, if you see, it is from the book by Mark Minervini. Okay, the Mark Minervini has written this book called Trade Like a Stock Market Wizard. Okay. So the basic idea was picked up from his book, from this book. Okay, I've made some changes in that. There are a lot of rules in that, and I've picked only 3 rules out of it. I've not taken the other rules. So if anybody wants to know about the recommended books.
All right, Sovit, it was a brilliant presentation, and you explained everything in detail. Actually, there should not be any question, I believe. I had a lot of questions, but I think you answered every question in your later slides. Okay, we'll start from your strategy. I think the strategy is like 130% from 52-week low, then 10% within 10% from 52-week high, and EMA 10-week EMA should not be sloping down. So that's your entry criteria. So if you can give just idea about how that 130, how did you come to that 130%? I mean, any study or kind of optimization, or how did you arrive?
Basically, this 130%, actually, according to Mark Minervini, this percent is around 50%. Okay, but I tested it on, and let me tell you this thing, which is not, I think I forgot to mention in the presentation, that this test is done on 3,000 stocks. So this is not on like 100 stocks or 200 stocks. It's on 3,000 NSE listed stocks for almost 19 years. Okay, and I have seen the charts of these stocks. I have tested it with various parameters. So if you take anything between 75% to 150% also, all parameters are profitable and all parameters are good enough. Okay, anything can be used, no issues. You can change this parameter to 75%, but it should not be generally below 50%, because understand that from the lows, any stock can rise 10, 20, 30, 40%. Even 100% is possible. Like in case of Jet Airways, if you remember, Jet Airways moved up in one day 100%. Right. So a bounce can be just because of short covering, and that was mostly because of some short covering because of some news. So there can be a lot of noise. And another important thing is that if you see the chart of Bharti Airtel, it remained in the range of around 220 to 500 range. So it was not able to cross that 100% mark, 120% mark if you see, right? So any stock which is in a range bound also can remain in this for a long period of time. It can remain within this 100, 150%, 120% range, right? So if we want a trending stock, although in this case our entry will be little late, we will not be buying because we are buying almost from the lows. We are buying at 120, 130% up. We are buying, right? So the entry is quite late, but the scope from this entry also is quite high. Yeah, we should not look at what we have lost or what we have not taken opportunity. We should look at what we will gain from our entry point.
Oh,
Right, from our entry point also, if it goes up substantially, then it should be enough for us.
yeah, fair enough. And your exit condition is because you mentioned in your slide, I guess, that it should close below average also. But your exit condition is the moving average slope should turn down, right?
Correct. Yes. The exit is actually the slope which is turning down.
Yeah. So even if it is a slight, I mean, the difference between the averages is very minimum. I mean, some kind of small percentage change and slope turns down. Even then you exit.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And another thing I would like to mention here is that you can also exit the stock by using a simple moving average, and if the price goes below the simple moving average of 10 period, that also can be used as an exit criteria. I've tested with that also, and with that also the results are decent enough. So it doesn't matter if you cannot use the slope of the moving average. Okay, if you cannot code it, or if it is difficult for people, then they can also take the 10 period, 10 weekly moving average, simple moving average, and if the close is below the simple moving average, then also they can exit.
Have you
But
tried?
remember, one thing. Remember to use simple moving average in that case. Don't use exponential moving average in that case.
Have you tried this strategy on lower time frame, maybe with different parameters? Or can somebody try this on for intraday or positional trading on lower time frame, something like that?
I've not tried it on lower time frames, and I will not recommend it to put the same rules on lower time frame. But what we can do is that this can be our base rule. Okay, that this can be our trend identification rule. Like these three conditions are fulfilled, then we will take only long positions, will not take any short positions. And in hourly or in daily candle, we can enter and exit, enter and exit, enter and exit. That can be done to reduce our losses, because in this case, there on an average the losses are 11%. If you go to lower time frame, you can put another rule for entry and exit. Don't use this as entry and exit. You just keep it as your trend indicator, and for entry and exit you can use any oscillator or any moving average or something like that. For short-term trading you can do that. So then you can switch this strategy to even to futures market also, but you'll have to test it. You have to practice it.
So what you're
But the
saying
rule,
is,
the rule for basically when you're buying a stock which is risen from lowest low substantially and still closer to the all-time high or the 52-week high is the essence of this strategy, and you can use this essence for any other strategy also.
I understand. So you can learn the essence, you can learn the principle, and maybe you can apply similar rules on lower time frame. That is one. Second thing that you're saying is this system you can run maybe on daily time frame. You get candidates and you can trade them on lower time frame with some other system for long only setups.
Yeah, right. For a
Will
long
you
only
recommend opposite rules for shorting? Or
you have
have
to
you tried or
practice.
tested?
I'm not back tested.
About strategy, see, this is kind of a positional strategy, and you talked about holding maximum position up to 50 stocks. And you also have a stop loss in system which is like moving average. Now, for example, you have that many positions in your stock. You know that no, you have a stop loss that weekly 10 EMA will turn down, but you don't know that level in advance, right? You may not be able to put that stop loss in the system, number one. And number two, tracking stop loss of so many stocks. How would you manage that practically?
Okay, like you can easily run a query that the stock closes below the 10-day moving average, simple moving average. It can be run, and it will give you this list of stocks, and you just have to see whether your stock is there in that list or it's not there in the list. That's it. Okay, or I'm sure Definage will also be having such features that you can uh, scan for or the Explorer, where you can scan for the stocks which are below the 50-day moving average.
Okay.
Or you can you can make your watch list on these softwares and run that scanner only on those stocks.
Hmm. You showed those backtesting parameters. So there were a lot of parameters. I understand. I mean, we can't get into detail of everything, but largely, if you want to analyze a system on your backtesting parameters, which one you will look for and why?
So I've told you whatever parameters I've used, like 120% and 10%. Like even you can go with 5% also, from the highs. If you take 5%, the results are even better. Instead of
No, no. What
10%
I'm
from the
asking
highest
is,
high. Yeah.
no, no. What I'm asking is, for example, in backtesting, you have profit factor, you have other a lot
Okay.
of parameters. From that,
Okay.
what would you? I mean, the parameter that you would look for.
Okay, I do not look for a single parameter. Basically, what when I run a strategy, the first thing I run it basically in three phases. Okay, in the first phase, I look only on one parameter, which is number of trades. So in the first phase, I will see that the number of trades should be at least 500. Any strategy
Okay.
which has less than 500 trades, whether it is profitable or it is losing, it has no meaning for me. Once that is done, okay, then I go to the second parameter, which is the profit factor. Now, if the strategy is decent enough, it should have an edge, right? And profit factor is something which actually tells us an edge. So the factor should at least be 2, because if the strategy is able to identify the trend, then only we can try to reduce the drawdowns later on. But first, the strategy should has an edge. The profit factor actually tells me whether the strategy has the edge or it doesn't has an edge at all. So if the profit factor is less than 1, then the strategy has a negative edge, right? And it should be able to compensate for those slippages and the brokerages, because remember, the trading is not a zero sum game; it's a negative sum game, because you have to pay for the STT and the brokerages. The profit factor should at least be 2. And the third, when these two conditions are met, then I go to the third stage and I see the maximum drawdown, the car to max drawdown, because I want a decent return. Okay, I should at least beat the benchmark, and the drawdown should be in under my control. It should not be a 50% drawdown, because I know I will not be able to handle that drawdown. So, and even if it comes once, it is enough for me, to blow me out, and
Yeah.
I do not want the risk of ruin.
Right.
That's it. Like the third is the car to max drawdown, which is should be at least 1. Market will do its own, and I never go for a full liquidation theory. I never opt for a full liquidation, like what happened in the COVID fall. Many people said that they liquidated their long only portfolio 100% in the fall or before the fall, whatever. I never
Hmm.
liquidated my long only portfolio.
Hmm.
It will always be based on the system. If the system gives me an exit, it will give me exit. And believe me, the stocks which did not trigger the stop loss, even in this fall of 35% of Nifty, they were the biggest winners. I will tell you, uh, Doctors Reddy did gave the exit in the system, and it was one of the biggest winners. If you see it how it has gone up. Alkyl Amines is another stock. It didn't trigger the stop loss. So there were only 10 to 12 stocks which remained in my portfolio at that time in this full fall. And those 10 stocks actually did phenomenally well after when the market bottomed out. And uh, all the losses were covered within few months. Within 2 or 3 months, all the portfolio losses were covered by these 10 stocks.
So you also gave us another system, the stocks which did not fall much when markets were falling. I mean, kind of relative outperformance. They are likely to perform better when if market, if market moves up. So kind of. So you also
Right.
talked about, yeah. So you also talked about relative strength comparison. I think you are not using it in this system, but have you worked on that, or do you run any parallel system where you are using that as a parameter?
Yes, I have almost like three systems only based on relative strength comparison. Okay, in
Very
fact, one system is as simple as it has only one entry rule and only one exit rule. And entry and exit rule both are based on relative strength only. There's no other
okay.
rule,
All
and it
right.
has similar returns. It has almost like 30% return
Is
without
that
with
also
around
long only system?
29% drawdown.
Is that also a long only system?
Yeah, that is also a long only system. Like I love long only system. Basically, my character is like that.
And when you use relative strength as such, do you use ratio chart or similar thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's an input. Actually, I've created my own indicator to do
All
that.
right. All right. Uh, yeah. Coming back to this, see, you showed that underwater chart where we were looking at the drawdowns of your system. Now this is about this is a long only system. Of course, we have to hold the and system will perform when markets are in strong uptrend naturally. The unfavorable situation is kind of sideways or long-term consolidation or downtrend. Now, when a system is going through drawdown, there were multiple, I think, multiple times it went below 20% drawdown, I believe. I mean, or something like that in your system. Now it is very difficult to, yeah, every time, when you are trading it practically or when you're holding to it, every time, practically there can be a doubt in your mind that are we heading towards a long-term bear market? For example, going back to the COVID time, when markets were falling in March 2020, when there was I mean, we did not know. There was a question that this can turn out to be a long-term bear market
True.
and this kind of systems will be in trouble in that case.
True.
So it is not only about this system, but for any other. So whenever you're going through unfavorable phase, and when you are heading through, what kind of mindset or any tricks that you follow, and what do you tell to yourself? What is going in your mind while when you're going through that kind of a phase?
Uh, very tough question actually. Okay. Um, so whenever basically it's whenever the system are in losses, whether it can be a long-term loss or it can be a short-term loss. Um, this is where the mental setup comes into play, and this is where vipassana comes into play. Uh, I do every day. I at least do 1 hour of meditation, and within that, uh, what what basically it helps us to do is that it we are actually talking to ourselves that whatever phase we are in right now, this too shall pass away. So whether we are in a good phase, this will also pass away. It will not remain good always, right? And whether we are in a bad phase, that phase will also pass away. It is not permanent, right? We are not permanent, right? Nothing on this earth is permanent. So everything has to pass away. So if we keep cultivating that uh, within our mind, okay, by doing anything, like even if you're doing some sort of sport, that is also fine, because you know that if you're playing cricket or if you're playing football or basketball, whatever, you know that all the time you will not hit goals, all the time you will not hit fours, right? You will get out at times, and that is why a sports person does very well in stock markets, because he knows that there will be downtrends, there will be downfalls which will come, and every time there's a downfall, you have to get up and start up again. That's the only way to do that. There's no other way. If you fall and you don't get up, then you are a failure. Right? So it's the mindset you have to, and you have to work on it every day. There's no substitute for that. Nobody can help you with that. Neither me nor you. Nobody can help to anybody else. You have to work on your own self yourself. Yeah. Whatever suits you, do that. But do some sort of physical and mental exercise.
So I liked your slide about objective of the strategy. You should write objective of the strategy that you are designing. Actually, not a lot of people would really think about these things or talk about it. I remember I was telling this to someone, or I was asking it to a trader, and he said, "पैसा बनेगा तो कुछ भी चलेगा, जो बोलोगे वो करूँगा." So it's never like that. You should know. I mean, of course, you will know it with experience. But it's not that you can always replicate someone's strategy. Even if he is making money, it's not necessary that you will be able to make money using his strategy. You should know about objective or strategy, and those pointers were really good. Okay, you talked about mean reverting strategy. I mean, I remember that slide you were showing. So that mean reversion strategy, you said, yeah, it can have a high hit ratio, but a very kind of moderate risk reward ratio compared to trend following strategy.
Right.
So I totally agree. That's the nature of mean reversion strategies. But they are more profitable when you go through a particular phase, like range, when market is in a particular range, or a sideways, or a consolidation. So a trend following phase will have an unfavorable phase, which is like consolidation, and that's when a mean reversion strategies will work. You also talked about in your presentation, multi strategies. You can have multiple strategies which can complement each other. So how about this, or have you tried out? Are you practicing? You have a trend following strategy. You can have some similar trend following strategies in different instruments. If you have mean reversion strategies also parallelly running, do you think will it complement, or you think will it complicate?
Right. No. It will definitely complement each other, because in the phase when the trend following strategy will lose money, generally it will lose money in the sideways market. Right. So in that market, mean reversion strategy will actually make money. Okay, so it will definitely complement trend following strategy. You should always try to merge these two strategies together and run it simultaneously in your single account.
So you showed about seasonality in your earlier initial slides. If you can go to that slide.
Yeah.
So I'm not very clear here, but I think seasonality, you said that there is annual event, or seasonality in stock. I think it was a very interesting point that price has these four components, like cyclical, there's seasonal, there is volatility. So how do you handle this seasonality? Do you have any parameter, maybe in some other system? Do you have some objective parameter to handle this seasonality?
See, I do not personally, I do not distinguish between seasonality and cycles, because both are cyclical. Okay.
Yeah.
So we both are similar. Okay. Anything which is other than seasonality and has a cycle, it's called a cycle basically. Okay. So how I like to see it that see, I am a trend trader, so I just want to remove seasonality. And the simplest way is that whatever time frame you are trading, okay, whatever seasonality it is there, say if it is say the seasonality is of 6 months, okay, then if you use 6 monthly time frame, then seasonality effect will go away. there can be little bit of a noise with it, but the effect of seasonality will not be seen. If the seasonality of say if a crop is sown every three months, then it has a 3 month seasonality, right? So you use the moving average or the parameter of 3 months, like 13 weeks, okay, or you can use 60 days, 65 days. So that effect of seasonality will go away. Just use the same period of some same pattern, same length as the size of the seasonality, and the effect will go away. And if you want to play seasonality, okay, then use either half of it as the parameter of, or 1/3 of it, or 1/4 of it, okay, and use them in either RSI or whatever indicator you are using, whether moving average, RSI, or stochastic, whatever indicator you are using, use that. Then you will have get better results.
So, if I've understood it correct, if I know about seasonality behavior of a particular stock, if I want to avoid it, then I should use higher parameter of any moving average or anything that I'm using. If I want to play that seasonality, then I should use half parameter of that particular level, right?
True, half of it, or 1/3 or less than half, basically.
You know about Elliotts and cycles also, so you must have backtested this particular behavior of different oscillators, that you use half of a particular cycle. I mean, there are multiple cycles at play every time, so there can be a confluence and all those things. But just to put it in simple words, would you agree that you can use half a parameter of a particular cycle you want to play, and that would work?
Most probably, yes, it will work, but you have to backtest it. There's no substitute for backtesting. What I was saying is that a trend following strategy is like a for wealth creation. So if you want to create wealth, you saw how 10 lakh rupees became 11 crores in 11 years. So that is a wealth creation strategy. And mean overtake strategy is like a daily salary, or so not daily, but monthly salary, or maybe quarterly salary. So you have to survive with this salary and keep running this trend following strategy to create wealth. So your both purposes are met. Or you can, if you don't have a mean reverting strategy, if you don't have option selling strategy, you can do any other job. You can do an accountant job, whatever job you're doing, but have a trend following strategy for wealth creation on like this, which you have to work only on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, and it will hardly take you maybe around 1 hour to run this strategy.
So I know that you and your team also runs derivative strategies. So there, do you consider these kind of different phases? For example, if there is a sideways phase, you sell options that can complement your trend following strategy, something like that.
Yeah, we do that. We do that. But the problem arises with such a thing is that we need bigger capital, right? Because as you increase the number of strategies, you need additional capital for both the strategies. Like this will require minimum 5 lakh, and then another 5 lakh will be required for an option selling strategy also minimum. So you need at least 10 lakh rupees.
So yeah, so you need higher capital, but will that increase return on capital?
No, don't expect higher return, but expect smoother equity curve. Expect that your overall drawdown will reduce, so your returns will be, because when one strategy is making money, other is losing money. So your overall return will be around 30% only, 25-30% only, right? But your drawdowns will reduce drastically.
Yeah, that's important.
By merging strategies, the biggest advantage is that our drawdown reduces. Okay. Returns may increase or may not increase. It depends on the strategy. But the drawdown reduces, and when your drawdown reduces, your CAR to max drawdown automatically increases.
So what you achieve by multiple strategies is you can reduce your drawdown.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah. All right. So last question, Sovit. I remember you used to do a lot of chart analysis. You used to practice Elliott wave and cycles, if I remember correct. So how did this transition happen? Now you are completely rule-based trader or system-based trader. So how that transition actually happened?
it's a story. I was actually, if you know, I was working as an accounts manager. Okay. And I always had this that I did my CMT, and I wanted to become a full-time trader. But I was not profitable because I thought that because I'm doing job as well and technical analysis on also, so I will never be like profitable if I continue to do that. So I thought that I should leave the job. Okay. So I took a decision in this was in February 2015 when I took a decision to leave the job. Okay, I calculated my gratuity, PF, and everything. So I had almost like a 1 year provision, and then I decided now I have to do full time trading, and I'll leave the job. And I started trading, and in the first 2 3 months, to my surprise, I was still not making money. I was not losing money because I had always that risk control into my approach, but I was not making money. Okay, so I was sitting with Vivek in his office one day, and I told him this situation that this is there. So and he was a systematic trader since 2012. You know that. So he said to me that why don't you try a systematic approach? Maybe this works for you. Took a internal oath, you can say, that I will not and not do a single trade till I don't make my system. So almost after that, I didn't trade it for 6 months. It took me 6 months to make my first system. I was jobless. I didn't have any other work to do, and I didn't have any other income. And 6 months, I was just practicing coding and making this first system. So that is where this all turned around. And of course, I did with my first Vipassana course exactly after leaving my job. I did my first course in March 2015. So that was again a turning point because till that time, say my mental setup was not as strong as it was required to be for a trader. So both the things have had to come together for me to like accelerate in this market.
Right. Wonderful, Sohit. So it was great to listen to you and know about your strategy experiences. You shared so many things, and there was a lot of interesting points also in your presentation. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. And I'm sure everyone will have a lot of takeaways from your presentation. So thank you, Sohit. Thank you for your
I'll be
time.
happy to answer all the questions. Thanks a lot, Prashant. It was a great experience talking to you.
Thank you, Sohit.
Thanks a lot.